Good evening, friends. The market is on an upward curve. What is good is that mid and small cap have started making again gains. And do they continue to go going forward? One big event that everyone is waiting for is a July first week. Well, because that 90 days, the moratorium or whatever you call it, is going to come to an end actually. So what happens there? And so on and so forth. So I'm going to discuss what happened in the month of May and how should we look at the market going forward and how you should basically make your strategy. Remember, in the month of June, that is this month, both RBI and Fed is going to meet. Should we expect rate cut or should we not? Should we expect the risk-on strategy which has started, will it continue or not? In this market, what should be your strategy to maximize the wealth? I'm going to discuss all this, but before I do that, a disclaimer. Okay, this webinar is just to enhance your understanding about the equity market. Please consult your financial advisor before buying or selling any stock. Past performance is no indicator of future returns, and investment in securities market are subject to market risk. So what happened in the month of May? In the month of April, we saw market rebounding, and that got extended in the month of May. What is good thing is that small cap index surge by double digits, that's more than 10%. And I think that makes a lot of investors happy. We are still not past the all-time high market cap that we saw, but nonetheless, I think the sentiment improved. What has come as a big surprise that if you look at the numbers for the small cap companies, they are not so great. And yet they basically started doing well. Why? Purely because of risk-on strategy that has become name of the game, not only in India, but globally. If you look at the Bitcoin, that it's touching at all-time high. If you look at the growth versus value, the growth is doing better as compared to value, which was not the case in the initial few months of 2025. So that's what happened. And because of rally in mid and small cap, advance decline ratio remain above 1. And that's a very good thing which has happened. And of course, 1 lakh crore, which was the number, daily cash volume which touched, it was struggling. But I'm happy to inform you that it is again crossed. That means it shows level of interest of retail investors coming back in the market is becoming again going back to the previous peak. Of course, we still need to cover that ground, but I think we are at maybe 8 months high in terms of average daily cash volume on NSE. That shows level of interest by the investor. Those who are sitting on the fence, those who are sitting on the outside, they have started coming back to the market. And that's what the data suggests in terms of market movement. It shows in terms of small cap index, that shows on advanced decline ratio, and that got further ratified by the daily cash volume that's happening in the market. FPI, थोड़ी नाराजगी थी. Now they've again come back. And they've again in the month of April, they were net investor. In the month of May, again, they were net investment. What is good, and will come in my subsequent slide, if you I look at both FPI and the domestic, both combined, 85,000 crore has been put in 1 month. In other words, what used to happen, कभी FPI निकालता था तो DII डालता था, कभी DII निकालता था तो FPI डालता था, इसका कम होता इसका ज़्यादा. तो when you look at the both combined, because of course both combined basically make very powerful. That is what happened. And risk on, I think people are becoming little more and more kind of what we call, if you look at the world GDP growth, it has been revised downward by IMF. If you look at, there are a lot of challenges in the economy, and yet not only in India but globally. And this globally, there is a risk-on strategy that is happening. People are basically not willing to look at the risk factors. He said, oh, risk hai to kya hoga? Take on. And that's what has happened. I think that's very, very surprising if you ask me very frankly, because this market was little risk off and suddenly change gear. वो 5-day मैच खेला था, अचानक से T20 खेल चालू कर दिया, maybe because of IPL or something. I'm just kidding actually, but that's how it is happening. We all know what happened. In the month of April, we had a Pahalgam, and we were all expecting that there will be a retaliation by the India, and that's exactly what has happened. So when that escalation happened at the border, the market got little nervous. But the moment ceasefire happened, and you look at the three things happen in the month of May on single day. Number one, the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Number two, on the same day, that's a weekend, the tariff been put on hold for the China. And number three, there was a hope that Ukraine and Russia will come for its ceasefire. Of course, that did not happen actually, but these first two things happened, and that really helped market to revive. And defense sector, because of this escalation, and then there was a ceasefire, they were in demand in the month of May. Let's now go to from geopolitical to the economy. What's happening? Inflation is 6 months in a row is a downward. 3.16. I think that's a good number to look at it. Am I right? And that's the lowest level than what we saw pre-COVID. If you remember, in July 2019, we had seen this kind of a low level. And post-COVID, this is the best number that we have seen. Now, because of this, inflation numbers are very good. 6 June, that is coming Friday, we should expect another rate cut from the RBI. It has done in Feb 25 bips. It did 25 bips in the month of April, and we should expect another 25 bips rate cut coming in the month of June. If you remember, when we made the equity outlook presentation, we did mention we were expecting 75 bips rate cut. And some of you, and not some of you, in fact, some of the experts also told me that Sunil bhai, you have gone mad. And the reason why they told me is that one, the rupee under pressure. Number two, the Fed is not going to do the rate cut. Then why RBI will do the rate cut? And inflation remaining little high. Okay, so why there is a reason for that to do that? And we stick our neck out and we said, yes, we do believe 75 bips rate cut. It's going to happen. Now the question happens, if 75 bips rates are done in the first half itself, should we expect more rate cuts in the second half? We need to wait and watch. Monsoon, for a change, has arrived early. So normally what used to happen in like city like Bombay, we used to normally don't get, I can't recollect in the month of May, Bombay is in flooding. Especially this time, if you go to the South Bombay, the rain was really excessive as compared to the other parts of Bombay. And of course, the monsoon arrived early in the month of May in Kerala, and every day we have some drizzle here or there in Bombay. So monsoon has come second. What is good is the second year in a row, we will have a good monsoon. That's what the prediction also. But when monsoon came early, it also came with another challenge. What is the challenge that happened? It damaged some of the standing crops. I have been informed that some of the people in Maharashtra, in Ratnagiri district, have seen even the mango being taken a beating actually. But of course, you should expect now higher vegetable price till that new crops comes in. So expect higher tomatoes price, expect higher onion price, and so on and so forth. That's going to happen. Not only that, the government also increased MSP, which is needed for 10 agri products. The MSP hike on a different product, different kind of an MSP hike, and also extended the interest subsidy scheme for the farmers. Coal sector growth was little muted in the month of April, but the GST collection was extremely good. 2 lakh crore, which has never happened. The day we started GST, it has never happened. The 2 consecutive months, we have seen revenue GST collection of more than 2 lakh crore. And there are many people who basically were saying that GST is a flop, so on and so forth. I think that's really shows strong economic activity in the economy. You don't see 2 lakh crore. I'm not saying that number. Normally the April is good because March is good. So the March what you collect, you pay in the month of April. But even in the month of May, which has been collected in the month of April, clearly shows is a good activity. So somewhere there's a little disconnect between the core sector growth and the GST collection. But I think GST is more rock solid, more broad based as compared to core sector. And hence, we should look at GST as a more final authority number as compared to core sector. RBI, another year in a row, record dividend. 2.69 lakh crore, 27% increase Y on Y. And that's a great number. Now, why this is a great number? Remember, because of global uncertainty, government will have to do a lot of heavy lifting, whether we like it or not. What does this mean? Government mean it to basically put more money, more to revive the economy or keep the economy going. This 2.69 lakh crore which has come will give some headroom for the government to spend money and yet do not go beyond the deficit which has been budgeted in the document. So that's what basically will give that. And of course, India signed an FTA with the UK. Still, there are no much clarity about what impact it would have and how it will happen. But one good thing is that one pending agenda has been ticked. Final details are still in the not in the public domain, or we don't know what will happen. But that's what's going to happen to that. Let's wait and watch. And I think the key thing is that do we sign an agreement with the US before 8th July? Let's move to the global now. Fed did not do any rate cut in the last month. While India did 50 bips, Fed has maintained status quo. Not only that, 18th June meeting also, Fed is unlikely to budge, and they will keep rate of interest same as it is now. One of the biggest concern the Fed has, and if you go to the FOMC meeting, is that no clarity on what happens to the inflation and no clarity in terms of unemployment. And both these numbers will keep Fed on a more defensive side, not to do any rate cuts. So don't expect 18th June, this month only, any rate cut from. And remember, Trump has been loud and clear in terms of sending message of the rate cut, and that still did not happen. Both US and China decided to put their reciprocal tariff on hold, and I think that really helped to improve not only the US and the China sentiment, but the global sentiment. And I think that's really, while of course the steel, aluminum and automobile, that remain to be at 25%. The way India signed an FTA with UK, even US did it. But one major thing happened. The Moody downgraded US rating, credit rating to AA1. And this is the first time that none of the three leading rating agencies, have downgraded US. No impact on market, but S&P did in 2011. Fitch did it 2 years back, 2023, and Moody 2000. So there's one risk which definitely there is a deficit. How do you budget the deficit? How do you basically bridge the deficit in the US? There are concerns coming in from the Japan also. Still, it's not people in the discussion board and how the Japan basically manage. We need to wait and watch. But one thing is very clear cut. I think this news of US having a problem will keep coming in every now and then. Let's very quickly run through the numbers before we open the floor for question answer. Advanced decline again 3 months in a row. If you look at it, 1.05, 1.26, 1.21. Very good advanced decline ratio of for the month of May. Okay. Second thing, India added 21 lakh crore additional market cap. In April, we were 424 lakh crore, we are at 445 lakh crore, but still we are 30 lakh crore away from the number that we saw in the month of September. So we still need to cover the 30 lakh crore, but the way, if we can add 21 lakh crore in 1 month, it should not take more than a couple of months. That does not mean that it will happen in next couple of months. Am I right? Cash volume, again, it's an 8-month high. The last time we saw the September, so there are two things which is coming out very clearly. September, almost the market peak, if you remember that, and if you look at then since September, we had seen a downward trend in the volume. It was struggling to cross 1 lakh crore. Of course, it did couple of months, but it was not very healthy. And again, we moved about 1.1 lakh crore in the month of May. And the previous, before that, 1.1 lakh crore was breached only in the month of September. Of course, it has breached before also, sorry, that's not the right statement. But 1.1 lakh crore has happened after 8 months. So that's one good thing which has happened. Again, shows buoyancy in the market. Everything was in the green, except pharma and FMCG. Pharma purely because of uncertainty about what's going to happen to the tariff and so on and so forth. And FMCG, which surprisingly is down. It's a little surprising to me for a very simple reason. Maybe, as I told you, there is no risk on strategy, there is a risk of strategy. So whenever there is a risk of strategy, FMCG tends to do not so great. Fortunately, IT did well. It was up by 4.27. Again, there is no logical explanation, to be very honest with you, because still there is an uncertainty about what's going to happen to the US. We don't know what's going to happen to the budgets and so on and so forth. And yet, it moved up by, of course, the small cap, as I was explaining, 10.58, followed by Nifty Realty, 7.17. Of course, the metal did well, despite IMF bringing down the global growth by 30 bips in the month of April. Among Nifty 50, the Sun Pharma player like Grasim basically lost the market cap, despite overall market was good. But company like Bharat Electronics, purely defense story, 22% up. Adani Ports up by 18%. Tata Steel again up by 15%. Of course, the numbers came out very well, Tata Steel, and the commentary given by the management was good. That also really helped. Hero MotoCorp again up by 13%. Laggard. Tata Motors, which has been struggling to outperform. And if you look at the data which has come up for today for the auto sales are not so great, but was up by 12% purely because of UK FTA trade, which could benefit Tata Motors. I'm not going to go each and every company. 87,500 crore was pumped by the institutional investors in the month of May. How this 85,000 crore, 19,860, that is almost 20,000 crore, and another 67,000 crore for DI. If you look at it, this number, previous one, 32,000, why 4,000, 28,000? This was negative, this was positive. This was negative, this was positive. This was negative, this was positive, 86,000 crore. 15, both positive. But when I combine 15 and 34, it gives me only 50,000 crore. Here 1 lakh, but here's 94,000. So if you look at this number, again the September was again 87,000 crore. And again we are seeing May. If you look at the trend which is happening, we saw volume, we saw this. Somewhere market is trying to surpass that September peak in terms of that. So 87,500 crores is no small amount when you combine both FPI and the DI, and which is a very good set of numbers. The US market did better than the Indian market purely because of the tariff pose and the tariff war between India and China, US and the China. Nonetheless, Nifty is up by 1.7 and 1.51. This is the number telling. Yeah, that's true. Okay, and if you look at the Nasdaq was up by 9.04. Again, it goes back to the same argument of risk on strategy. While Dow was only up by 4, the Nasdaq was up by 9%. Anyway, mid and small cap almost on the verge of wiping out the initial 2 months of losses. The small cap YTD is down by only 5%, mid cap is down by only 2.8, and the Nifty 50 is up by 4.6. And if you look at the month-wise, huge divergence. In the month of May, the small cap category was the best performing, but that was not the case. In the month of April, the large cap was the best performing category. Again, in the month of March, the small cap was the best performing. Again, the large cap in the Jan and Feb. So you see the shifting between large, mid, and small cap. There is no consistency that you are seeing among the market cap. numbers for the March season is almost over now, 4.3, very muted. And the outlook for the Nifty 50 for June is not so very exciting. I'll just cover it very briefly in my subsequent slide. Half of the market is still commanding at least 30p, and what I've highlighted is this 13 plus 7 plus 29, which gives me near about 49%. So half of the market is still commanding, and of course there's a 2% small cap which could be basically added there. So half of the market is still commanding 30p. In other words, we are still trading at rich valuation. If you look at based on yesterday's market cap, and if you look at the trailing 12 months, this is for India Inc., we are at 26 times, which is not a cheap valuation by any stretch of imagination, especially when your numbers are not so great for the India Inc. Of course, don't expect too great numbers also for the June quarter also. GDP came out, which surprised everyone. It came at 7.4%, which was got released on Friday. So it is the first quarter in 2025, FY 2025, we crossed 7%. And of course, this is not the highest. We did see 8% 3 quarters in a row in FY 2024. But these numbers are just, don't expect too great numbers for the first quarter of FY 2026. GST collection 16.2, substantial growth, excellent growth, and that shows the economic activity continues to remain a little robust in the India. Petrol and diesel consumption or more or less same. Petrol came down, but the diesel moved a little bit higher. Crude oil price again a lot of tailwind for India. 67.7 came down to 64, and if you look at the data as on 30th May, it was 63.84. That means it was below the average also. Won't expect much a substantial decline from this level on the crude oil. Why? Because the US shale gas is not becoming feasible now to basically continue this one. Electronic toll collection, which again shows activity in the economy, is marginally increased month on month, 5602 to 5615. But if you look at last April to this April, huge jump, 4,700 crores to 5614. So that's where you can see the jump in the activity in the economy. Electricity consumption, again, there is nothing very. So when you look at the data is a little divergent that you see. That's why I've started focusing only on GST collection, because GST collection gives you fair sense of what's happening in the economy. Because some data, if you look at the diesel consumption moved up, petrol consumption did not move up. If you look at the electricity generation data, it's a flattish Y on Y, and so on and so forth. So when you look at the data from different angle, I've started believing that there's the one data which matters every one of us to understand what's happening in the economy is the GST collection. Of course, in the next couple of months, we'll also know what's happening on the direct tax. This time, the direct tax filing has been extended. You can now file till 15 September. Historically, whenever the market does well, it does extremely well, 5% ऐसा मिलता है. But otherwise, it's a flipping of a coin. 1 year it's good, 1 year bad, 1 year good, 1 year bad, and kind of stuff. 2 years green, 1 year red, again 2 years green. But otherwise, it was 1 positive, 1 negative, 1 positive, 1 negative, 1 negative, 1 positive kind of stuff. But nothing much to talk about it. So what should we expect and what should be your strategy? I think market is waiting for the 8th July. Why 8th July? कैलेंडर में डाल दो वो. उस दिन 90 डेज का जो रेसिप्रोकल टैरिफ का जो मॉरेटोरियम है वो खत्म होने वाला है. बट in the interim anything can happen. Like Trump has said, China is basically violating the tariff clause. They said we will levy 50% tariff on European Union, so on and so forth. It's becoming more and more, what do you understand, what do you make of sense? So while 8th July is an outer date, but do expect tariff-related volatility in the market because of Trump can do anything, everything. Now someone would ask me what happened to your claim that fatigue on the tariff is already set in. It's not that it's not. So despite uncertainty, market started doing well. So market started ignoring what's happening on the tariff front. Of course, 1 or 2 days it basically behaves in a little irrational manner, but it's coming back to the normality. That's what has happened. The risk on strategy is very much on, but I'm not very sure how long it's going to last. Why am I saying so? Because the Bloomberg consensus for Nifty 50 for June 2025 quarter, they're expecting decline in net profit 4.4% Y on Y. The good thing is that India Inc. balance sheet is very, very strong. We looked at cash equivalent in the India Inc. We look at the interest being paid by the India Inc., which has come down. If you look at the borrowings, which has not gone up substantially, we look at the interest coverage ratio, and that gives us a really idea. The balance sheet is very, very strong, but the valuations are not cheap. And hence, any further upside, we need to take it with a lot of cautions. If you are not very good in terms of stock selection, probability high that you will basically end up losing money big time. While we do expect some of the tailwind for the market, why? Because expectation of better monsoon, soft crude oil price definitely give a lot of comfortable despite the valuations are not so high. We do expect one more rate cut from RBI, and that's a good thing. Why am I saying it's a good thing? Because that will put more money in the hands of the people who are buying on EMI. Your housing loan EMI can come down. Or there is a reason for you to now go for another housing because the rates have become competitive. Your EMI on your consumer durable loans can come down, which is another good thing. We all know that government has given more money in the hands of you and me by reducing the slab rate in the income tax and the budget, which has kicked in this financial year. So that means more power coming in. So these are all the tailwind which is available to counter the high valuations. We do believe that government will do heavy lifting, and with more money coming in from the RBI in a form of dividend, government will ensure that they keep pumping money maybe on infrastructure, maybe on the social people, those who are weaker section, they can give more money to basically make them happy kind of stuff. So that's what can happen. Okay. While mid and small cap did well, we are not very sure how long they will continue. Be careful. Your stock selection has to be of a paramount importance. And if you happen to be in the wrong company, my worry is that it will take many years to recover that money. Stick to domestic focus, then the export focus. With this, let's open the floor for question answer. Suhas sir, what can bring the market down are global geopolitical tension and operations into two. In case if that happens, what should be the strategy for the investor? So I don't know whether Operation Sindoor is in the walk, it's in the offing. I don't know, but geopolitical tension definitely can impact. How should be strategy for the investors? Very simple, sir. Focus on domestic theme. And that's where you will see money being made. Second thing, for some reason, Suhas sir, market comes down because of geopolitical, because of Operation Sindoor and so on and so forth. Please, please, please use that as an opportunity to add more money. Why am I saying so? So yes, I do understand the valuations are high, and hence I don't expect very broad-based rally, but there are certain tailwinds. Crude oil price, the more money in the hands of the customer because of rate of interest coming down, tax rebate, and government will make all the efforts to ensure that there is enough liquidity in the system so that economy does not slow down because of the global factors. So focus domestic, and I think you should be fine. That's what my suggestion would be on the strategy front. Akash sir, how will the market fare out in the next 2-3 months? So this is my personal opinion, not Markets Mojo PMS opinion. I do expect volatility to continue. I do expect market not going upside. I don't expect market to go up from this level another 10% in next 2 to 3 months. So I do expect volatile, but in a narrow range. Don't expect market to go up by 10% in next 2 to 3 months. Do I expect market to go down by 10% also in next 2-3 months? The answer is no. So narrow band with higher volatility, that's what my sense is. And I do believe that mid and small cap can come under some amount of pressure because of profit booking, purely because of profit booking. Hiren Parmar, this is the reply received from MMT. As per the review by Sunil sir, our Chief Investment Officer, we would like to inform you that your model fund is performing well at this stage. Since 1 year has not yet been completed, we recommend waiting for the full equivalent process. Okay. There is a question, क्या सवाल क्या sir? Hey? So what is your question? Just if you can help me with this. So you quoted our market bojo team, but what is your question क्या sir? Hiren sir, if you can just come back again and put it and वापस ले लेना हमें उनका सवाल आ जाए तो. Please say the current status of valuation. Where are the pockets of fair equity valuation, if any? Namdari sir. So sir, as you know, Namdari sir, markets mojo always has followed, or even mojo PMS, bottoms up approach. What does it mean? We have a view on the company. We don't have a what we call view on the sectors. Within the same sector, one company can do extremely well, another company may not do well. And we have seen that, demonstrate that, we have discussed many times in the past also. Now, if you want me to give me the company specific, I'm afraid, Namdari sir, I will not be able to do that. So one of the best way you use markets was your website. Look at the company which are above 70. So we have also created list of Mojo stock. That's where you should look at it. We also created list of turnaround, reliable performance, consistent performance. That you can look at it to look at this. And of course, we have a stock of the week and stock of the month. With that, you can look at it, which will give an idea about what can happen to this. So that's what you should look at. These are pockets, but one of the best way to look at the pockets, if you ask me, focus on those companies which are domestic and not yet participated in 2025. Probability of you going wrong with that kind of a methodology is very, very low. That's what my advice. Namdari sir, unfortunately, I will not be able to give you company specific, but I can at least show you the method that will help you to zero down on some of the companies where the valuations are very, very attractive. Sagar sir, GDP growth for last quarter was 7%, which was above the estimated year-on-year data on India Inc. Performance below par at 5%. How do you rate this data? Is the worst over for India Inc. and we may see growth from June quarter, or you feel still results will be soft only and it's a softness is already priced in the market, or you see some more correction ahead as the data is really little confused? Deep look into the help us to understand. So you are right, sir. In a way, data are confusing, and that's why I did mention that the pure data is GST collection, because वो actual किसी ने रिसीव किया और उसने पेमेंट दिया गवर्नमेंट को. नो वन इज गोइंग टू पे GST ऑफ देयर पॉकेट. Am I right? Which you collected and you repaid that this one. Your question is very interesting. You said that is the worst over for India Inc. My answer is no. Should we expect great numbers for June quarter? Answer is no. I do believe that there is will be some kind of a softness in the June 2025 quarter. Is it priced in the price? I don't think so, to be honest with you. Why I'm saying so? Because the market still seems to be in a risk-on strategy. And I did mention that I do expect market to go by 10% 2 to 3 months? Answer is no. Do I expect market to come down by 10% 2 3 months? Answer is again no. I do expect market to remain little narrow band with great amount of volatility. The data is still not sinking by the market that the number for June will be little soft. I think market seems to be ignoring at this point of time, only on the hope that the number can be better than what market is budgeting or expecting. So my request to you, don't expect too much rally in next 2-3 months in the market, but don't expect market to go down also too much. Vinit sir, it's in the news that the Gautam Adani comes under new scrutiny of US prosecutor. Does that mean that we will mayhem in Adani stocks? Sir, my request to all of you is that थोड़ा, I think Adani Group has come under scrutiny many times. And yesterday, there was a quote from Adani, or today, I'm forgetting actually, that they've gone through each and every scrutiny without any damage to them in terms of where the substance has been found. Very recently, even SEBI chairperson, the past SEBI chairperson, also been given a clean sheet. Am I right? And one of the allegations was linkage with the Adani Group. So there could be, and you use the word mayhem. Mayhem is a very strong word. I don't expect that to happen. I think this is a part and parcel which is happening. I don't expect too much. Even if there's a decline for some reason, I think it can bounce back, because based on the past history, I am not giving a recommendation on buy on any of the Adani Group companies. But I am saying the past, whenever the instances, if you look at it, whenever the instances like this has come, Adani stocks do take a beating, but it bounce back also equally fast. So if for some reason Adani Group shall come under pressure, don't assume that they will further go down. That's what my limited response to your question. Vinit sir, could you please share the model portfolio performance? तो Vinit sir, ये थोड़ा challenge है हमारे लिए. Why challenge? I'll explain you. We are not supposed to, as per the regulation, we are not supposed to show historical performance to the clients. Those who are, the reason is because it amounts to luring the investors to your product. This webinar is open for everyone. I can't show any my model portfolio performance to any of the prospective clients. Number one. Number two, Vinit sir, previously what we used to assume in our PMS in model portfolio, that you bought and you sold, and hence the performance is actual. In 2 years back or so, we are just only assuming that you sold the shares which we advise, but generating advice for buy has been left to the individual investors. And because of that, we have seen a lot of divergence between the portfolio of investors. Some are very diligently buying and selling as we have advised by them, or they will generate the advice also the same day or next day based on the funds availability. We have seen people are delaying for 5 days, people are dealing for 15 days, and so on and so forth. How do I basically show that performance of a model portfolio? Because there's huge divergence there. So regulatory challenge, operational challenge, and whatever data I'll show is not factually correct. Why? Because different people have used the data advice, generated advice at a different point of time. Okay, Padman sir, last webinar to discuss that too aggressive waterfall, that the returns were down 9% since last year. So I hence say my photo to Ben to and get a reply. Okay, sir. Okay, I got it, sir. So you are right, sir. Okay. So your portfolio, I've looked at your portfolio. Let me be very honest with you. Yes, sir. Now I can remember. So what we are saying is that give us 1 year, one year time. Yes, they have not done as good as what we would expect to do that. But short term में अच्छा हुआ नहीं खराब हुआ, because there's another gentleman who showed to us. He started, it was more than 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. We look at the data and we realize the portfolio is outperformed. Okay. So yes, your portfolio is not done well. I agree with you. It has not done as much we were expecting to do well. It has not done well. What we are saying is that wait till the next Diwali time, that is coming Diwali, and it should be outperforming the benchmark. That's what I wanted to convey to you. And of course, I also look at your history of buying and selling. You have been following diligently. I must admit that also in this webinar. Jai Shri Krishna, RB bhai. Value versus growth. What strategy should one adopt and why? So, there is nothing, okay, this is right strategy, this is wrong strategy. Every customer has his own risk appetite. The guy who chases growth should have a higher risk appetite. The guy who says, okay, I'm very happy, I can't stomach volatility, I want to have a very peaceful sleep in the night. If that is so, that guy should go for the value investing. There are some smart investors who do hybrid of both. They basically mix value with the hybrid. Value with the growth. I personally prefer value with growth. In other words, what do I mean by that? First, I will look at the good quality company, but still has a great potential for growth. Okay. So 80% of my portfolio would always be a mixture of value and growth. 20% of my portfolio will be out and out growth, where I'm willing to take a higher risk versus to generate the higher returns. And I'm willing to wait for that company not to perform for next 5 years also is fine with me, because I've taken that conscious call to put that. Now someone say 80-20 is not my cup of tea. I may be 90-10. Someone would say I'm willing to take a risk, high 60-40. It's all depending upon what is your risk appetite. You need to define your risk appetite. What gives you comfort level? There is nothing called one size fits all. I have seen investors, I have given one company to invest in on a walk on a Nariman point. I'm talking Marine Drive. The same company, one friend of mine made 10x money. Same company on the same time. Another guy lost 20% in that. 20%. अभी आप बोलो कैसे हो सकता है ये? The another guy who lost 20%, he did not have that patience to understand the power of growth. The moment the script went down, he got out of that company. बोला नहीं मेरे को नहीं करना. I can't stomach. This guy could stomach the volatility, and he made the money. And that company, just to give a hint, was in a luggage. Now you can make your judgment. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's all depending upon you, sir. What is your risk appetite? If your risk appetite is high, please go for growth. If your risk appetite is low, please stick to the value. आप समझे? आप जिम में जाते हो, you decide ना what weight you can lift. ज़्यादा कर लोगे तो क्या होगा? Muscle जल्दी बन जाएंगे, but it's also run a risk of a damage to your body. Am I right? So decide what is comfortable for you and decide that. I told you what is my comfort level. I use 80% hybrid of value plus growth, and 20% is out and out growth. Anyway, I'm a little high risk taker. I must tell you that also. In fact, there is one company in my portfolio where I know that my portfolio value can become zero also. And yet I remain invested in that company. So you need to have that kind of a temperament also. Some of you, if you remember, I don't know how many people remember. मैं लेता हूँ निर्मल जी आपका सवाल एक सेकंड. In my previous avatar, I used to give stock specific recommendation also in the same platform, and I had given 3 Diwali Muhurat buys. I don't know how many people remember that. And if you look at that, all 3 at the end of the 1 year had come down. And someone asked me a question, sir, what is it? In fact, don't wait for the next Diwali. It was in fact started coming down. And I said, I am holding on to my recommendation. Many people got out of that. And please admit if you have done that, if you have done that. Today, the same company is making a lot of money for the investors. So it's again, I said, the same company with the same risk appetite. Right company, right time. But you will still not make money because your risk appetite is very, very different than someone else's. And risk, remember, Mohit has said one of his webinar when he launched Infinity, you need to understand what is your risk appetite and play based on your risk appetite. The moment you start to mimicking someone else, very likely you will lose out money. I can tell you, and there was a very classical example that happened with one of our very famous investors, I don't know to name him. This guy gave a company name, I don't want, it's unfair on my part too. One of the jewelry company. He made tons of money in that company. Other guy did not make a money in that. He got out of that company very quickly. And it's all available in the public domain. The guy who got out of that company very quickly, he has gone on the record saying in one of the event कि मुझे बताया था ये कंपनी लेने के लिए. I got out of that company because he could not relate to that company. He got out early, he did not make money. And this gentleman made a lot of money. And both are very renowned investors in the country. People respect them as a guru. One is no longer there. He died a couple of years back. Another guy is still there, a very renowned investor. So that's how it works. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Nirmal Bhai. In GST collection data of 2020 does not include refund of GST approximately 35,000 crore. In actual GST collection of April comes to 1.75. So sir, when we compare always gross data. So you are right. What is more important is that when you need to look at the growth in the GST collection. Am I right, sir? So you remove from the previous data also the GST refund, and then you look at it. Still there is a growth. That's what has happened, and refund would be a part of that. So there will always be every month there will be refund, some amount here and there. So are you trying to say, Nirmal Bhai, that because of if you remove if you look at only the net GST collection, is there a decline? That's what we are trying to infer to. I don't think there is a decline in net GST collection. I don't have not looked at the data. I can't. In fact, I look at the data. I can't recollect the data, but I don't think there is a decline. I think growth still is. I think in double digit if my memory serves me right. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Mayank sir, what is the correlation between dollar, yen, rupee? Please guide. So to be very honest, there is no correlation between dollar, yen and rupee. There is a correlation between dollar and rupee, there is a correlation between dollar and yen, but I don't think all three has any kind of a correlation. So what has happened, in Japan, the rate of interest was very, very low. And the yen used to depreciate against the dollar. So what people used to do, global investors, they used to borrow money in yen from Japan. They will take that money and invest in some other markets like US. उसका ट्रेजरी हिल भी ज़्यादा था, वहाँ पे तो आपको नेगेटिव ऑलमोस्ट जीरो था. Second thing, when you want to repay that loan, since yen is depreciating against the dollar, you need less dollar to repay that. So you get twin advantage. You got lower rate of interest, putting money into the higher rate of interest, so you made money on that interest also, the arbitrage between the interest rate. Second thing, when you want to repay, you are still making gain on the forex, which people used to call it yen carry trade. But now if you look at it, the yen started depreciating against the dollar. The rate of interest, I've been informed that 3.5% अभी हो गया, मेरे ख्याल inflation हो गया वहाँ पे भी. So yen, the yield on the US, the yen is also going up. So that could disturb the yen carry trade. That's what this one. So that's what the correlation. If you need something more specific, Mayank bhai, please ask me. I'll be more than happy. In case if I cannot reply immediately, I will do some research for you and I'll come back to you. But this is what yen carry trade is all about. So there is no correlation between dollar, yen and rupee, all three in combined. But yes, there is a relation between rupee and dollar, and there is a correlation between yen and dollar. Sridhar, good evening, Sunilji. In respect of a Mojo stock, the Mojo score was high, about 81 before result. The result came after market hours. The result was very bad to the loss of 50%. I noticed the Mojo score changed to 64 with advice to hold strong around 11:30 am next day. Now the stock has fallen around 8%. Why such a time lag in IT driven world? I feel scores should have changed before market hours. Do you feel that it's a good to hold stock instead of profit booking? I feel money honeymoon period is over for that stock. So, okay, if I've got your question right, you said before result it was 81. Okay, result came after market hours. And the score got changed 64 around 11:30 next day. I don't think that would have happened. I really, sir, what I would request you, Sridhar sir, can you just send me the name of the company and write to support, and they will definitely forward your email to me. Let me try to figure out what has happened. Now your question is that if the scope has fallen by 8%, if it is a part of a model portfolio, sir, you will get an advice on that company. But you are saying, no, it's not a part of a model portfolio, I have invested as a mojo stock only. And the score is 65, my answer is no. Don't get out in a rush. Because score is still 65. If it goes below 60 and script continues to get out, fall, please get out of that company. Just lock in the profit. But my request is that please send me the name of the company. Even if you must have put it, I think Amit would have removed it because I don't track company specific question. Amit, दिया है उन्होंने सवाल कंपनी का? हाँ, तो मुझे फॉरवर्ड कर सर, श्रीधर सर, यू हैव गिवन दिस वन, कैन यू जस्ट गिव मी मुझे फॉरवर्ड कर सकते हो क्या आमिर, अभी व्हाट्सएप कर सकते हो क्या? 1 minute, sir, I'll tell you what needs to be done. Okay, yeah, I'm just typing it. Okay, this company, please continue to hold. Sridhar sir, I've given the answer. Okay. Kiran sir say, when the big mutual fund like Parak Parik sitting on 25% cash, does it indicate it's still risky to enter and better to wait for the market? See, as I told you, various investors have a different view on the market. While I do understand that the market valuations are rich, which I mentioned very loud and clear in my presentation. There are certain tailwinds like GST collection is good, crude oil prices coming down, and so on and so forth. It's not that today Parak Parik is sitting on cash. I think they've been sitting on cash for quite some time. And we have seen the market rally. So you have a choice what you wish to do. If you can stomach the volatility, please go ahead and invest in the market, because you will never know what is the right time to invest. You will never be able to catch the bottom of the market. And you will never know when Parak Parik has started investing also. Why? उसका डेटा तो आपको 1 महीने के बाद ही पता चलेगा. So my request is that if you can stomach the volatility, please remain, invest in the market. You can, if you wish to put more money, put please more money. वो कभी चेंज होने वाले किसको नहीं माना. But having said that, I don't expect market to go up or go down substantially in next 2 to 3 months. If that gives the clarity of what you need to be doing, fine. If it still doesn't give a clarity, please ask me. Okay, Kiran say, when some companies move drastically without strong fundamental, on paper, just I see double X stock more than 50%, just 70%. How to assess them to invest or miss at the rally? Not stock specific query, but to understand. So it's also a function of, you said there is no reason, strong fundamental reason, please get out of that company. There will definitely be profit booking in that counter. But you need to be doubly sure whether there is a reason or not. Because sometimes you may not be aware about the reason, but there may be strong reason because something must have happened globally also, which you are not updated, or company would have announced certain measures which you may not be aware, or something would have happened with the competitor. That could have been reason. Like, I'll give you a classical example. So one company, share price moved up. Nothing happened in the story of that company, but something happened with the competitor. उसके प्लांट में आग लग गई थी. Now that means उसका प्रोडक्शन कम हो जाएगा, सप्लाई कम हो जाएगी, this company will get the benefit. That's why the script moved up. So sometimes you need to look for the reasons. Don't assume उस कंपनी में कुछ नहीं हुआ, इसके लिए इस कंपनी में कुछ नहीं है. It must have happened, something happened, must have happened globally also. I'll give you a classical example. One of our stock of the week is a company which basically makes something for electric arc furnace. That's a steel. Globally, there was some supply constraint happened. The same stock of the week, nothing happened. The fundamental story of this company, but this company price went up by 17-18% single day. क्यों? Because globally कुछ हुआ है. So I think, Kiran sir, you need to look at, first you need to come to conclusion that उसमें है क्या नहीं fundamental reason. Once you get convinced that there is no strong fundamental reason, then yes, please get out of that company, please lock in the profit. Provided you don't believe this company has a future for, or it's a value, it's a little ahead of the fundamentals. There are many companies in my personal portfolio may have gone up substantially. I still don't get out of that because I do believe that long-term fundamental story of that company is still in intact. I may happy to get lock-in profits because of temporary upside, but I will not because I don't know whether I'll be able to rebuy that company again at the lower level or not. So it's a function of mid-term, short-term, long-term growth trajectory of that company, and then you look at that way. But if there is no strong fundamental reason, please get out, lock in the profits. I hope I not confuse you, sir. Raja Sekhar. Sir, I've given that reply, sir. We don't expect market to go either way in next 2 to 3 months purely because of geopolitical reason, tariff reason. Earnings may not be so great, which will start coming in from the next month, so on and so forth. So there is a reason to remain little cautious. So we don't expect market to go up either 10%. We don't expect market to go down either 10% in next 2 to 3 months. Shyam Singh, please ask MM team to arrange a webinar for Mojo Infinity customers. There are problems which we are facing. It will be hopeful at our end. Point taken. I'm most probably, Shyam sir, Mohit will be in front of you, most probably on the Tuesday. Wednesday. And sir, that there is a dedicated webinar only for the Mojo Infinity customers, where no other investors would be invited. Exclusively only for the Mojo Infinity customers. So please ask your question there. And whatever query you need, whatever answers you need, please feel free to ask Shyam sir. Satya sir is saying, are you bullish on semiconductor industry stocks? So मुझे बताओ ना कौन सा कंपनी है सेमीकंडक्टर में जो मैं see semiconductor is a very it's not it's a game for the small players. You need a deep pockets. You need to take on some of the big players. So जो छोटे player है, I don't think they are going to do well. In fact, on the contrary, they will not have economies of scale and they will be out of the business. But please help me understand which company you are referring to. I don't. If you ask me on the face of it, there are none which are scalable. They are more big basically, and hence I would not invest in them. Lakshmi Narayan sir, as I know, India is printing notes based on the gold reserves, but US is printing dollars by their own way. In that case, how dollar and rupee are compared? So sir, I don't know the equation between the gold reserves and the printing notes. What I do understand is that the dollar rupee rate is a function of demand and supply, is a function of the differential rate between two countries, inflation rate. And that's what normally, so if you look at the Mota Lakshmi Narayan sir, rupee will depreciate exactly in the same manner the difference in the inflation. आप देख लो, हिस्ट्री निकाल के देख लीजिए आपको. If the inflation in US is 2% and India is 6%, rupee will depreciate by 4% in that year. Of course, I'm not saying month to month, but mota that's what has happened. And that's how we should look at it. Okay, that's a very good thing. मुझे याद दिलाना Amir. What I will do, I'll take last 10 years data. We will look at CPI inflation of US. We'll look at the CPI inflation of India, and we will look at the difference, and we look at the depreciation in the rupee versus that. And you will see more or less that the difference is a function of inflation. So that's how you should look at it. I don't think printing notes based on gold reserve and so on and so forth will have any meaningful impact. Is a reason to basically look at what happens to the rupee dollar rate. I don't think. So I've never applied my mind in that direction also to look at that way. What I've really observed is a differential between the inflation of India and the US, and mota, that's the depreciation of the rupee, difference is depreciation of the rupee. मुझे भिजवा देना यार, मुझे I'll come back to you sir on next webinar. Madhusudan sir, if I have to do profit booking, what percentage of portfolio should I pull out? गलत डायरेक्शन में जा रहे हो मधुसूदन सर. You should never do profit booking because you have a view on the market. You should do profit booking because you have view on the company. I again repeat, one should never ever do profit booking because you have a view on the market. You should do profit booking when you have a view on the company. Look at Parag Parikh, na 25% cash में बैठा है. Logically, he should book profit 100% ना if his view on the market is negative. उसको कोई नया कंपनी नहीं मिला इसके लिए वो नहीं ले रहा है ना. So understand the difference. And profit booking is always, whether good market or bad market, you should doing when you think the script is run ahead of the fundamentals. मेरे पास भी बहुत सारी कंपनी है. I am not doing locking in profits because I know that story continues to remain very rock solid on those companies. If so, why should I block in profits? I'll give you a classical example. तो if you remember that किसी ने लिखा था कि दिवाली मुहूर्त बाइज में उन्होंने बेच दिया था जल्दी. अच्छा लिखा नहीं. Okay. This is one of the company in that Diwali मुहूर्त में which I recommend. I also invested in that company. The script has gone up substantially high. I think 350-400 ऊपर चला गया है वो मेरे परचेस प्राइस से. Am I looking on profits? The answer is no. Because I know the story of that company. Am I right? So, this is not only to Madhusudan sir, everyone. Peter Lynch has said very nice thing. Do not cut the flowers and do not water the weeds. आप गलत काम कर रहे हो मधुसूदन सर, आप गलत डायरेक्शन में जा रहे हो. प्लीज डोंट डू दैट. सवाल नहीं है या टाइम नहीं है?
सवाल तो है पर स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक है.
सभी स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक है. तो ठीक है, देन इट्स ओके. Then we will conclude because I don't take company specific question. So thanks a lot everyone taking time out and attending this webinar. Mohit will be in front of you with Infinity webinar. Do not forget to attend that. Good night, take care. On Thursday I'll be in front of our PMS customer and this time even Mohit would be there in front of our PMS customer. Good night, take care.